Hi everyone, welcome back to my Python training. This is lesson 3 and we're going to talk about data types and variables. In the last lesson we wrote some basic code. We didn't really get into what we were doing or why we were doing it. We're going to do that this time. We're going to talk about strings and integers and variables. So a warning up front that this might be a little bit dry, but we need to get through it. It's a big part of programming with Python or any language. So bear with me. We'll get through it as quickly as possible. And let's begin. So if you remember back to the last course, we printed hello world. Hello world is really just a string. A string is defined as a sequence of characters surrounded by double quotes or single quotes. String is essentially text. Part of programming, a big part of programming is processing that, especially in scripts. So you're going to need to deal with strings. So strings can be stored in variables, just like we stored the integers last time in variables. So for example, here I have a variable called message, and it's equal to the same hello world as the print statement. So now the hello world is stored in this message. So if I print this message, I should see the same thing as with the original hello world. So let's run that and see. As you can see, it prints exactly the same. There's one thing I want to note here, that I use comments, or we all use comments to comment out certain lines of code in PyCharm. So when you put the hash or the pound sign in front of a line of code, it leaves the line there obviously, but it doesn't run in Python. So this is very handy for blocking out code that you don't want to run right now, or it's also extremely beneficial to comment on your code and let other people know what exactly you were doing here so that it's easily read afterwards. We can also change the attributes of the variable. So for example, we have hello world in our message here. If we wanted to print that in uppercase, we'd hit a period, and these functions are all built into Python. I didn't create them, and we could type uppercase, and that would change the text in the string to all uppercase, as it did here. So I encourage you to go through the list of attributes that you can change in any variable. If you simply type the period after the variable, you'll get a list and you can go through them. Many of them are self-explanatory. So the next thing we want to talk about are integers. Integers are part of the number data type. Numbers include integers, floating, and complex. We're not going to talk about complex, but integers, in the case of our code last time and this here, were assigned to variables. Now what's really neat about Python is that when you write this line here, y equal to 14, Python knows that 14 is an integer and automatically assigns it as an integer to y. Now, some other programs do not do this. You would have to actually declare y as an integer before you do that. You do not have to do that in Python. So if we run this code, x and y equal to two integers, we can process these numbers with a simple calculation. We can do all the basic calculations with it. Something interesting does happen when we divide, and that's what we should look at. So if we divide y equal to 14 by 7, we would expect 2. And we do get 2, but it's 2.0. So the key thing to be aware of here is that in Python, when you divide two integers, you're going to get a decimal or a float in the response. This might cause complications with your program, so just be aware of it. There are many ways to get around this. One of the easiest is to convert your answer to an integer. It's called casting. So if you convert x and y, the answer, into an integer, we should get a 2 here without the 2.0. And as you can see, that's what we do. Integers are used throughout Python programming and any programming, and you should be aware of all they do. So in total in Python you have 8 data types. We've discussed integers, which are part of the numbers data type, and we've discussed strings, but there are 6 more. The other 6 consist of Boolean, bytes, lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. But the important thing right now is just to be aware of these different data types. We'll go through each one individually as we move forward in these courses. But in the meantime, if you're curious, feel free to head over to my website at pythonprogrammingoradultsandkids.com, and we have a section on there called Documents and Links, and it'll give you a basic overview of the data types. Some of these are big topics, and we'll have to address them individually, which we will do. And next week, we're going to explore lists, so that's one of the data types. So that's it for this lesson. We talked about the use of variables and integers, strings, and we have an overview of the basic data types. So in the next lesson, we're going to talk about lists and how to manipulate, add, and remove on a list. It's a big topic in Python, and I look forward to seeing you then.